Good evening. This is the graduate capstone GC-337 GTRI analysis of alternatives for workstation deployment for the team consisting of Rakesh Alam, Doug Curtis, Kayla Dougal, Kevin Glaze, and myself, Josh Freeman. Georgia Tech Research Institute is requesting an analysis of alternatives for a workstation deployment solution that can deploy Windows 10 and 11, Windows Server 2022, Red Hat Enterprise Linux 8 and 9, Ubuntu, as well as support multiple users simultaneously, support various hardware models, and run custom scripts. The objective of this analysis is to provide GTRI with one deployment solution that can replace their current software stack that facilitates this process. Of the tools surveyed, we feel that the OpenEM best fits the needs of GTRI for workstation deployment. We started by collecting a list of workstation deployment tools from sources such as Gartner, Google, and previous capstone projects. We then rated them based on the criteria provided by GTRI in the project description. Tools were given full points in each category if they could fully meet the requirements, half points if they could partially meet the requirements, and no points if they could not meet the requirements or we couldn't find any information if they met a criteria. From these, we found three tools of interest: Case, Endpoint Central, and the OpenEM. Case would not provide us with a demo, so we evaluated Endpoint Central and the OpenEM. And we'd like to focus strictly on the deployment part of this project. When we did that, we found that Endpoint Central and the OpenEM earned the same score. Endpoint Central had some features that the OpenEM did not, but they were largely duplicated by tools that GTRI already has. Therefore, we are recommending the OpenEM over Endpoint Central. First of all, it's lower cost. The OpenEM is free and open source. Endpoint Central has a per endpoint and per user cost, which when GTRI is running hundreds of endpoints with several students as users, can get fairly expensive. Easier configuration. The OpenEM was far easier to configure and get working. The OpenEM uses syslinux instead of WinPE, which is more flexible. We had no driver issues with the OpenEM. However, for Endpoint Central, every time we added a new piece of hardware, we had to update the WinPE image with new device drivers. The OpenEM succeeded in all the deployment tasks, which is the primary goal of this analysis of alternatives. And GTRI already has better management tools for Windows, Linux, and macOS and Endpoint Central. Therefore, these added tools don't really add value. We feel that the OpenEM would be easier to maintain over its life cycle and lead to a lower total cost of ownership. Thank you.